Are you seriously going to eat, you fat blibbity blabbity blob? I mean, some of you might be like,
Continual.
why would I want to start this?
Sensitive. She's sensitive.
You are listening to the Tammy Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast, where we share stories that are, you guessed it, unscripted.
That's the thing, this journey doesn't stop.
It doesn't really
right?
end. We have a general sense of the topic each episode, but really the whole point is just to show up and be authentic and let our inner child speak its truth. And I have continued to work through that story of constantly hearing, well, we don't want, got a hot dog on our hands. Yeah, guess what, Mr. Sabatsky, you do. So I'm so excited that you are here, and it is my hope that you hear yourself somewhere in the story so that way you can feel seen and heard as well. So let's start talking. You guys, I just got done recording this episode and wow. Wow is all I'm going to say, because when I say these episodes are unscripted, this one was unscripted. You are in for a treat. And I told Faith not even to cut any of the beginning stuff out because it's just hilarious how it started. But I love that how it started led into the episode that it created and you getting to see all of it. Very unedited. I don't know if Faith will, what she'll touch, but it was podcast gold. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the opposite, but I felt like it was gold. It was incredibly entertaining. And so I'm just going to let you guys enjoy.
Are we recording now?
We are. You can
Are we
say hi
good?
to Faith. She'll edit this out for us. So, hello, Faith.
How you doing, Faith?
Hello, Faith.
Okay. In case you find me attractive, Faith, I am married. Just saying. And my wife's
And she's right here.
over there.
Yes. He is being filtered and...
I'm being filtered today. My wife is here. The signal is this. That means I have to be quiet. Why, you thought you weren't going to be part of the podcast, Molly, but you are.
Can we mention that you're here? Sure. Okay.
Oh, yeah, my wife's here. Molly Vanderwellen.
Is that your last name?
Yeah, my last name is Vanderwellen.
Okay. I was just...
Believe it or not, my real last name is Valadez. We'll get into that. All right, yeah, see where this is going to go?
I don't know.
Right. Right.
I don't know, but...
And if I cry out there, I'm still a man.
Yes, we were going to talk about that as well. So.
I'm a crier. Holy shit, am I a crier? God, yes. Man, I go to this therapist. Her name is Sue Gruden at the Samaritan, what is it called? Samaritan Group in Monona. That woman destroyed me because now I cry in an instant, and I never did that my whole life. And now, like, when I lift, I can't even get angry because I do that stuff where it's like, oh, Santino, you're being a pussy. And then a little voice kicks in, that ain't true. You know you're not being a pussy. This is terrible. I hate it.
I know, I love it.
So I try to sit down for I just have to be that strong. I can't get my emotions up to get that way. So yeah, no negative self-talk.
I like this. All right. Again, save it for the pod, dude.
For the what?
The pod.
Oh, the
pod. All right.
The pod.
Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome to the podcast.
Do you want to introduce? You can introduce it. I can do it.
Well, I don't know the name of it. You just said welcome to the. You said
Well, you're coming up.
You said come on your podcast. Welcome to Tammy's podcast.
Welcome to the Tammy Talks Unscripted Healing Podcast.
My wife did tell me that. I should have known that.
Yeah.
All right. Nope. That's my fault. That's my fault, everybody. It's my fault.
All right. Are we officially ready?
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. Got my Hulk shirt on.
You do.
Sure, ready.
And I channeled my green for you as well. So
See, channeled the green.
I did. I channeled the green because I knew. We're going to get into that.
Okay.
I feel like this should actually all be part of the episode. So should we just roll it from here?
Fine. I go with whatever, you know, especially because, green is for Kermit, and he was the man. He was the only one of the Muppets who pulled a lady.
Oh.
Think about it. Think about it.
That's true. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Huh. And green is all about the heart chakra, as I know you love.
I do. She wants me to talk about my wife, ladies and gentlemen, who is my life.
Yes. So, okay. Let's officially start this episode.
Okay.
And I have a guest here with me, Santino, who is going to be, as you can already tell, quite the entertainment. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to have you on here. But also, because I knew you have stories for days. You can talk to this guy for 5 minutes and realize, like, oh, he's got some stuff and some stories.
It's really not that I have stories. I just don't care what I say, so I just let it all fly out there. That's all that it really, that's all that it is.
So this is, I always say this on every episode. This is probably the most unscripted episode. No, this is. This is legitimately the most unscripted
Because
episode.
like I don't know if you guys heard, but she's gonna put it in there before. But like my wife is here, and like this is her signal. Like when I'm going too far, because occasionally I say things I'm not supposed to say. So, you know what I mean?
Yes. And so your wife being here and she's giving him the cues and everything. But that was also part of the reason I wanted him to come on here, because when you're at the gym, and that's how we met, was through some mutual friends, is the way that you talk about your wife. And it just, like, you exude this intense love for your wife.
She
And
makes my chest hot. No shit. No joke. No kidding, man. When I talk about my wife, my chest gets hot.
I love that. Well, and you guys have been married for, you said, almost 30?
So June next year will be 29 years, and it'll be 31 years in June. So we really been inseparable since the first night. She moved in with me about a week or two after we got together, and then we were engaged in 6 months, and then we were married a year and a half after that.
Wow.
And only once, I'll never forget this. We were about 2 months into the relationship. We were sitting on our parents' back porch, and she looked at me and she was like, I was talking to my mom, and maybe I should come back home and we should just date. And I just looked at her and I was like, no, and walked away. And that was it. And that's the last time we talked about it. So, I was like, nah. She had my heart. I can tell you what she was wearing the first night we met. I can tell you where we went, what we talked about. She's had me since the jump. She's something else.
Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this so much. And there are certain aspects of that and who you are, your dynamic that you've shared. And again, I've just gotten a teeny snippet of conversations at the gym, but how you balance each other and how you show up for each other, how you keep each other accountable, because it sounds like,
oh my God, dude,
doesn't let you get away with much.
Like no joke. Okay, so I used to power lift, right? And I love to power lift, and I love strength. I mean, because it gives me comfort. Just knowing I can lift things and be strong for my family is great. But like when my wife found out I was really getting into it, she was like, "You can't take anything that is not doctor prescribed, and then you can buy whatever else you want." Thinking back then, that was a good deal. Well, then you don't realize you turned 50, and well, you need some things. You need a couple things, and she still won't let me have them. So like. But then again, I'm that type of person. Like, I broke my 5th and 6th vertebrae back in 2000, and it was 1999, October 3rd, actually, 3 days before her birthday.
oh wow,
Yeah, and I wound up getting they gave me opiates because I had the broken neck.
Sure.
And that went until 2006. And ladies and gentlemen, don't get addicted to those. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
That was a rough recovery.
Yeah. So, wow. Okay.
And then this is where Molly, she knew I always took things to the extreme, but she was like, you start doing some stuff that you're not supposed to. And, I'll just be some kind of rage monster walking around the house.
Is that where the Hulk comes from?
Kinda. The Hulk's actually a really interesting story. So just to give you a little background, like I'm wearing a Hulk shirt. I have a Hulk tattoo. My beautiful wife, for some reason, allows me to have one entire room of the house that has like over 150 Hulk action figures and like posters and signed things and you name it. I met Lou Ferrigno. He's a tool, by the way. So it's really odd. So what it is when I was a kid, through a lot of the trauma I went through, honestly, as a kid, I just wanted a hug. Like I was a really sensitive kid. I was like the worst thug in the world. Like I could fight, but I didn't want to, like at all, ever. But I got into a lot of them. And but when I fought because of, things that were going on in my life, I just was like a rage monster. Like, and so I was identified with the Hulk of like, I just wanted to have a good time. I just wanted to party. I just wanted to get laid. And somebody always wanted to pick a goddamn fight. Yeah. And I always hung out with the wrong crowd. And so I identified with that. But then my cousin, my dad died. When did he die, honey? Like 2 or 3 years ago? 4 years ago? Yeah. And my cousin, we were walking back because it was a super Catholic funeral. And we were walking to the back because it's where the family just sits with the coffin. And he looked at me and he was telling me that. He was like, hey, do you remember when your dad used to pretend to be the Hulk and we would pretend to be Spider-Man from the ages of like 2 or like 3 to like 7? Because my dad was in the military, so he had this big green poncho and he would just toss us over the entire house. And I had completely blocked it out because of this bad relationship I had with my dad. And it all came flooding back at the funeral, which...
Oh my God.
Oh my God. That was just... Yeah, it was terrible. It was, oh my God, I was messed up for a minute. Yeah. So that's actually where the love of the Hulk comes from. Is my dad used to pretend to be the Hulk.
Oh,
And I made up this story in my head like it was, this duality between me and my temper. And nope, it was my dad.
Well, okay, so I didn't know this story, but you're on an inner child healing podcast right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my inner child. So, let me tell you.
But that's so true. And that's why I wanted to ask you about Hulk, because I figured it had something to do with childhood. But hearing that, like, yeah, of course, like whether you even realized it or not, there was something that was maybe that one moment where you felt connected with your dad.
I know it's funny because, when my dad was around us, even though there was a lot of, my dad, he was a product of the 70s, you know what I mean? Going into the 80s, and, his family was his family, and, they did certain things, and, so things got rough around the house with him and my mom. And but man, when he was on, and it was like the safest I ever felt. And then when he was gone, it was like, figure it out. And my mom did the best she could to, like, raise me to be a man. But, that was like, she'd let me watch action movies. I was taking the movie. I saw Porky's when I was 8.
Yeah.
And I don't know if anybody knows what Porky's is, but check it out. It's a good 80s movie. You'll like it. Full frontal through the whole movie. And when you're 9, that's a good thing. It's a pretty interesting thing. Got a lot of questions. So I was raised, my name is Santino. It's after The Godfather. No one can watch that movie with me because I just go through the dialogue as I'm watching it. And then my mom just raised me with action movies, and she's like, men fight, men protect, men do this, men do that. And okay. So that's what I thought was appropriate. You know what I mean? And no joke, I was scared the entire time. Like the entire time when I was a kid, it was messed up because, you'd see me walking down the street and I'd have this scowl on my face and, I'm hard. I am not hard. I'm not. Tough guys know how to fight a lot. I did not want to fight a lot. I just got into a lot of fights, so I had to learn how to fight.
That's so interesting of taking on these roles and these characters to present yourself, or to protect yourself, right?
I had a walk. No joke. I would practice my walk in my house. My cousin Santiago taught me how to walk. And it was so when you walked, you looked bigger than you were. And then I would practice facial expressions in the mirror, like, how to intimidate. You know what I mean? Because there were guys I hung out with that I could tell were like me, that were just scared. Because whenever they got into fights, they always wanted to talk first. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They didn't go to blows. But the guys who always wanted to fight me would just hit me first. So I always wound up getting into those fights. But the second you opened your mouth, I knew you didn't want to fight. So I would practice manipulation. I would practice intimidation and things I could say, or if I knew somebody didn't like me, I'd find out something on them so I could bring it up like during the fight, like I had something. Like it's called the peacock fighting method. I wasn't going to bring it up, but it is. It's making yourself look bigger than you are so you could get away. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So you don't have to actually fight. And that's how I ran my life. And like I survived and, been shot at, been stabbed, been like jumped in gangs and stuff. I was crazy.
Well, that's
it was fun though. It was like a good time.
Sure, you became your own little action movie star guy.
It was, honestly, because when you said that, a story came to mind. So there was one night, a girl I was seeing, we were supposed to go out on a date. She said she wasn't feeling well. Showed up at the party I was at. With another guy. And I don't know why they thought me drinking was going to be sensible. Yeah. So I ended up taking on him and his brother.
Oh boy.
In this fight. And I actually was winning until the brother found a baseball bat, and then my buddy Herschel grabbed the bat. So Herschel, if you see this, I should remember that. Came like it, dude, this close, like no joke. I felt the bat swing past my head, right? And my buddy grabbed him, and then all of a sudden I seen my buddy Garrett. The guy had, this is how old I am, and brand new IROC Z. And my buddy Garrett had a full 40 ounce, and he's tapping the windshield saying, I need you guys to leave him alone or I'm going to bust up this car.
Wow.
And so everybody left and everything was good. And we're chilling out on the porch, and there's like 5 of us. And they went and got some gangster disciples from 6th Street and Racine. And all of a sudden you just heard, Santino. And I was getting shot at running through an Island Park. So when you said action movie, that's what I thought of.
Wow. Yeah, truly. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. That was a fun day though.
Looking back.
Well, that was actually the first time I really had to apologize to somebody, because the next day they caught up with me, and the brother that he brought from Chicago put me on my knees with a double barrel shotgun in my chest and said, I need you to apologize to my brother.
Wow.
And that's how I apologized. Well,
It's
I can tell you this. My wife has never had a sincere apology that sincere.
yeah, I can about imagine.
Yeah. But it is what it is.
So give us a little bit of backstory, like where you grew up, why this was a thing, because this is everyone's childhood stories are very different, but this one is very different.
Well, okay, so I grew up in Racine, Wisconsin. My family is very Italian Mexican. My mom married a guy named Raul Valadez, who adopted me. Because I'm not going to go into totally about my past and things like that, because that's my mom's business. But,
Yeah.
so he adopted me when I was 3. So I grew up in a Mexican household, and my mom's very Italian. And oh my God! But I tell you, one of the reasons I love my wife the way I do, my dad and mom, my God, like no joke. Mom, if you do hear this, my mom and dad literally like slept together after they got out of marriage. And I'm sure it messed up a couple relationships. You know what I mean? Sure. I don't know why they couldn't make it work. They just didn't, but they loved each other. Like, I swear to God, when she dies, she's going to find him in heaven and that they're still going to hook up.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how they taught me how to love. So I come from Racine, and I don't know, it was just, we were, on the lower end of middle class, and we moved around a lot in the same city. I think we moved what did we say, like 10 times before I was 18 in the same city.
Wow.
By the time I was like 6 and 10, and it was just like, once my dad left and I was 10, it was like, and I also too, at the time I thought, so my name was Santino Valadez. I didn't find out I was adopted by my dad, Raul, until I was 10. Whoa. 10 or 11. So now you have people telling you you're white, but all of your cousins are Mexican. So it was like, and my skin is like, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm not that tan. So
yeah,
that was a tough situation.
Yeah.
And then I had the last name. So what do you do when all your cousins are Mexican and you are the whitest looking guy in the world? You go hang out with Latin kings and become the biggest Mexican you can be, and you put on an act of what you can be. So, and that's what I did. And it was all just an act. Because honestly, I just wanted to watch cartoons. So yeah, I just and the thing was I put myself in bad situations. Like a lot of people could say that, because of their situation, they had to do what they had to do to survive. Oh, that's not true at all with me. I put myself in bad situations because I wanted to be looked at as a tough guy. Because there was security and people didn't want to fight you. But then there was a lot of not security because then people wanted to fight you.
Exactly.
So it was a little messed up. And let me tell you something, when you get hit in the mouth, it hurts. It hurts. So anybody with a fantasy about getting in a fight, don't do it. It just hurts. Just hurts a lot. And so, yeah. I mean, like Molly hit me once. That shit hurt. It hurts a lot. I said it. Molly Vanderwilling.
Well, this is, man, I love this because, again, I didn't know like any of this of your story, and just trusting my intuition, like this guy needs to be on the podcast, and like turns out you're the perfect person for this podcast because of how much I talk about like what your inner child just truly wants. And he's like, I just wanted a hug. I just wanted to feel seen. I just wanted to feel heard. I just wanted to feel accepted for who I was. I just wanted to watch cartoons. But ego comes in like, hey, if your dad's not there or those needs aren't being met, your ego takes on this whole persona.
The worst part about it is when you don't have that dad around. And I didn't have any really good male figures in my life that were like positive male figures.
Yeah.
You question.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I'm 51 years old. I've done what I need to do. I'm still doing it. But there are times I'll be in a group of men and feel super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure that's how a man acts. Ooh. Because I've never had anybody tell me that was okay. I've had to figure it out on my own or by watching other people I respect, how they react in that situation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, shit, did I do that right? And then I go home and then I doubt, and then I'll get angry about it, or I'll doubt myself about it. And I'm just like, and I'll avoid that person for a couple of days to see if they call me or something. Yeah, it's stupid. It's really dumb. But yeah, even at 51, you don't realize how much like the same-sex parent affects, because it's just situations in life. And that's why I was really proud of my son, Logan. When he was 12 years old is when I got into lifting. I didn't get into lifting until I was like 38. Mm-hmm. And Dave Constantino Dave, if you're out there, you're the reason I'm strong. Love you.
No.
It was at the Branson Club he got me, but I work out at Madtown Fitness over right behind Hill Electric.
You want to go ahead and sponsor this episode? You're welcome.
You should go lift. He got me into powerlifting, and I did my first 500-pound deadlift like a year into getting to work out. Yeah. Like, I don't know where the strength came from. A doctor told me I just have great red muscle fiber. So, and my son at 12 years old said, Dad, get me strong. Until he was 17, we spent 6 days a week in the gym, 3 hours a day. And then he wound up taking the Junior Olympics when he was 16.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, you should see him today. I mean, I couldn't be more. I'm actually jealous sometimes when I see how my kid handles things.
Yeah.
Like, my daughter, was the first time that her first love had broke up with her, I called him up. I'm like, you ready to go? You ready to go handle this? The kid lived in Kenosha, and I was going to go burn his house to the ground. And it's funny because my son is like, Dad, calm down. I'll be right there. And he's talking me out of it as the second greatest wife in the world, his woman, Magoo. Her name is Mariah, but I call her Magoo. So if ever you see a girl named Mariah Vanderwillen, her name is Magoo.
I love that.
Yeah. What do you call it? She's in the house, and she's like, no, you remember that car he rebuilt? We will take that apart. We will, like, she was with me. She is ride or die. My son, though, was, Dad, this is her business. We just got to get her through it. Like, he handles things so well, like a man should. And it drives me nuts, but I'm so proud of him.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of him. He's such a good kid.
Well, and my take on that is, if you and Molly have created a emotionally safe foundation for him to be who he is and to feel his feelings and to process his own emotions, like, you created that from.
We tried to. I mean, Molly really put the boundaries out there for me to do it, because, like, I ain't gonna lie, there might have been a couple times police were called to my house while he was a teenager, but he was a big kid and he was full of testosterone, and get mouthy and you're gonna get smacked. So I did, and it's not like I tried to put my hands on him, because he was so fast. Oh my God. He'd like say something and be out the door. It's just crazy. But,
But that also makes sense of our own upbringing. Like, when we get triggered, like, sometimes you can't stop yourself in that moment. Like, it's such a reactive impulse, because that's how you grew up, right? Not necessarily how you wanted to treat your son in that moment, but you just kind of, again, you turn into Hulk just like that.
Yeah.
And people that have been watching this podcast, I talk about Arlo, and that's kind of his alter ego. And when he gets triggered and kind of goes off into a whole other world, like, he turns into Hulk. He gets really upset. He can't think straight. He just wants to fight. He just wants to yell, scream.
Yeah. There's been a couple times in our marriage. One time just recently in 2021, I won't go into it because I know Molly's going to touch her chin on it. And so what it was is with COVID, because, we really didn't know at the time that the government had lied as much as they did, because they did. That, you couldn't, like, touch things and stuff like that. And, so Molly and I had, like, no physical contact for 5 days. I am a touch person. Oh my God. It drives her. I know it drives her nuts sometimes. I can't walk into a room without smacking her butt or touching something. It's just, it is what it is. But so I went 5 days without it, on top of having COVID, on top of the first time I got it. It's just everything, every joint hurt, everything. And my daughter came to the house and she wouldn't go buy me tortillas. And I don't know why that tripped my trigger, but I just don't remember anything until like 10 o'clock that night. Yeah. Like, I literally, the rage that came out of me, and it scared my wife and everything. It was terrible. And so I mean, that still comes out every once in a while when I lose my temper to the point of losing it. I have blackouts, and it comes from when I feel like I'm losing what I have. Yeah. And honestly, I've worked at companies for 10 years. I'm at my current company for 2 years. I'll always make money. Whether I have to be self-employed or work for somebody, that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters to me is my wife and my kids. Mm-hmm. Losing them will take my life. And in that instance, with that anger, and I felt my wife pulling away from me because she had to. Yeah. I thought I was losing her, which made me enraged because I couldn't. Like, it felt like it was slipping through your fingers. You know how you try to grab, like, water? Yeah. Like, you'll spill something, you try to grab it like you can grab water. And that's what happens when I get enraged. It means I'm feeling like it's slipping through my fingers and I can't control it. So I get
Yep.
Like I get more angry, and I think the angrier I get, it like that people will just stop then.
Right.
And it makes it worse.
Yeah. I mean, that's ego does. It has the best of intentions. Like, no, I want to keep you.
Right.
I don't want to trigger this abandonment wound from my childhood.
Well, that's what it is. It's an abandonment move because, my dad, he was raised in the manly of like, I'm the father. I don't pick up the phone. You call me. So, and it was just like, damn, man, I just needed you to call me.
Right.
Just, hey, love you, son, whatever. But, and luckily before he died, like 3 years before he died, we actually had some really great conversations that got that all worked out. But, those wounds are still there and they're gone. They're going to be there forever. And
well, that's just it. You can have some healing around it and know that it still impacts you, and that if you could go back and have a different childhood experience and received the hugs and received having an emotionally available parent, like, yeah, that would have been great. And I deserved that. It wasn't my reality, but I can still kind of grieve the loss of that.
For sure. And that was a nice thing is that, Molly, my wife is so stable. It's, don't know to get offended. I always use it. It's just retarded how stable she is. It just makes me nuts. It honestly is. Okay. She's retarded. It's so stable. And that's like, so when I would get like that, she never got upset with me. She'd just be like, honey, you can't act like that. And it was always great because, we always had great friends who were Christians and into the church, and they'd always bring me back to the Bible. And quick story.
Yeah.
Quick story. So Molly and I were married for about 5 years. It was shortly after we moved up here to Madison. And oh my God, yeah, guys, look, I wasn't the greatest guy in the world. I wasn't. Like you can imagine, I had all these fake personas I put on. So there was no real me that anybody really knew. And Molly was the closest it came. So we argued a lot. Because, it was like I expected these things out of her and I thought I could manipulate that you did it by manipulation because that's how I got what I needed from everybody, right?
Yeah.
So we go on this big family trip every year with her parents to these cabins, and it's up in the woods. It's one of the best vacations ever. But I was too much of a tool to see that. So I thought, she's going to take the baby and I get a week by myself.
Oh, yeah.
She comes home. I'm telling her about a fight I got into with my boss, thinking I'm the hero in this situation. My wife looks at me like, why are you putting my family in jeopardy? Ooh. We get into a huge fight and I'm like, forget it. I'm going back to Racine. I go back to Racine that night. I come back and we're talking like, is this working?
Yeah.
And we decided we were either going to go see a divorce lawyer that Monday or go to this church we were going to. We go to this church. This little Jeff Mantle. God damn it. He's this little choir boy, little nothing of a man that's married, but he is one of the greatest men I've ever met. And for as much as I did not like him sometimes, his nuggets of truth come back in my head 20, 30 years later.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting at the table, we're telling him our issue, and he looks at me and he goes, Santino, we can't help your marriage. We can't do marriage counseling with you. And understand, I'm in a t-shirt, oversized bib overalls, and at the time I carried 2 knives with me at the time. And he looks at me and he goes, because you don't even know how to be a man.
Ooh.
To be a husband. And I'm like, what'd you say? And Molly's like, she has her hand on me. She's like, no, honey, you listen to it. And I'm like, no, say it again. Say what you're going to say. And he started going through scripture. Do you do this? Do you do this? Do you do this? So you said you love her and you don't do this? And I was like, what? So what? No, so wait a minute. So what you're saying is,
yeah.
And it was, and I was like, oh my God, like, and honestly, that's how I found my faith, was because I was losing her. But somebody pointed out, it wasn't that I wasn't being a good husband.
Yeah.
I wasn't being a good man.
Ooh.
And that blew my doors off. That was like, what? And I've spent the last 20, so that was since 99. We got baptized September 5th of 99. Yeah, so that's been like 25 years of figuring out who I was.
Wow.
Because we've had to strip everything back.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's quite the road, let me tell you.
Oh, well, I've been on that journey as well of just like, who am I? And had to kind of do that same process of peeling back all these layers and roles that I took on for everyone else. And that, again, we talk about that a lot on this episode of people like finding who they truly are. But it also makes sense when you talked about like showing up around men now and trying to figure out like, how do you be a man?
Right.
Which is interesting to me because it sounds like you have an incredibly strong intuition. It just you had to kind of disconnect from it at a really young age. Like you had all these emotions and feelings of like, well, that's not a man. And so you cut that part of you off, and that feminine energy, like cut that off to be very masculine, when really it was just very natural for you to be balanced.
Yeah,
that wasn't the example you had.
Yeah, because to me, it was like, you know, I never understood, you know, I always hung around guys who were very either verbally abusive or physically abusive with their women, or, you know, very controlling and stuff like that. And I always looked at those relationships and I always thought to myself, I'm like, what happens when she fights back? Like, you will not have her anymore. I was like, dude, you can't be happy in this situation. I never understood it. It just never made sense to me. And if it, you know, and then anybody, I think, if it doesn't make sense to you, you're not going to do it. So, you know, I didn't get it. But then by the time I had gotten with Molly, you know, I was already at that point because, you know, one of the best comments I ever heard was, you can lie to anybody else, but never lie to yourself. And the fact in my life, it wound up being, I lied so much to myself about who I was so I could do what I needed to do, that's what I believed I was. Right. And then I got with Molly, and here's this just bright light in my life. It's like, and she's like, you know, I don't need you to be tough, right? And I'm like, no, you know what? This is what a man does. And she's like, yeah, I guess, but not mine. And then she's just like, walk away. She'd be like, you know, do what you got to do, I guess, but I don't need you to be that way.
Wow.
You know, and she always just wanted the authentic me.
Yes.
And we'd get into the worst fights because I'd fight back against this authentic me. And she'd be like, but honey, I didn't ask you to do that. That's not you. And she knows me better than anybody in the world, except maybe Sue Groot, because she's my therapist, and that woman is fire. She's evil because she takes away everything that made me, but anyways, whatever, it's fine.
But also helped you find the real you.
Yes.
Yeah.
She took my anger.
Whoa. Now you just channel it in healthy ways,
Now I just channel it in healthy ways like porn. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, honey. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Now we got the chin over there.
Right. Yeah.
But the other thing too, when you talked about how often you moved as a kid, you have to learn how to be adaptable. You have to learn, like, how am I going to fit into this new school with these new...
I was a fat little kid too. I didn't get it. I did not lose weight. I was in a size like 44 pants, and I was in 8th grade. I was bullied horribly when I was in middle school. Oh my God, it was terrible. And then freshman year came, I discovered football and things, and lost weight, and it was good. And then I decided to started fighting back. And from freshman year on, it was quite a tasty little fun. It was a good time. Because there was a couple people, you know who you are, took an ass kicking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had some, I didn't realize I was going to be like 5'8", and then one day 6'1". Yeah, that was nice. That was a good glow up.
Well, and that's also interesting, is because again, sometimes that can be like this false Band-Aid, right? Like, oh, I'm losing weight, I'm feeling better, I'm getting attention now, but there's still a little boy that is hurting from being bullied.
Sure.
And so that comes out. You'll see that in your adult life of where those insecurities or, you know, things like that. Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. Amanda and I, who was on the episode last week, were kind of talking about, you know, how like working out or even eating well or losing weight can be this Band-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
To the wound of not feeling good enough, worthy enough, whatever enough. And so you can lose all the weight you want. And that's why a lot of people end up regaining it, because you never actually healed the wound to realize that you were worthy of not just feeling good, but everything.
Well, that's why I'm having shoulder surgery and everything's messed up on me, because there'd be times I'd get angry and I'd go spend like 4 hours in the gym and just do every exercise I could. And I'll be like, when are you coming home? I'm like, when I'm not angry anymore. Yeah. And then I couldn't move for like 3 days. And even my shoulder, it was during COVID. I was at Madtown Fitness. I was helping doing a remodel, and I had hurt my shoulder. And I'm raised in the generation, if it doesn't hurt, it's not working. So I just kept lifting through it. And now I have a granddaughter, and I was carrying her around the block, and she was only like 15 pounds. And I couldn't move my arm for like 3 days. Oof. And I was like, and now my son and his new wife, I want to start having kids soon. So, you know, I want to be like healthy so I can, you know, so I got a coach, and I'm, you know, like almost 30 pounds down, and, you know, I'm still strong and everything like that. But, the gym and my strength work, it is it is a coping mechanism with me, because there are sometimes I'll have a problem with Molly, but I'll be like, oh, well, at least I can go to the gym and I can deadlift 500 for a double still. And you know what that means? Donut. Because when someone hits you in the mouth, you're not deadlifting 500 pounds. It doesn't matter how strong you are.
Right.
Nothing. It means nothing. It means I have longevity. That's it. So it's kind of stupid, but yeah, I still love being strong.
Well, and it's interesting too, how injuries and things like that, and we kind of explored this on the episode too, that it forces you to have to look at your stuff. So when all of a sudden you can't go to the gym and lift like you were able to, you have to sit in that. Like, how am I going to release this anger? How am I going to process these feelings and emotions?
For, man.
Sure.
They stop you from feeling any emotions.
Yeah. In some cases, maybe they let them out, or at least let your ego, let the guard down. So it could go either way, right?
That's true. Which I did find out, though, you can do too many edibles, which my wife pointed out. So we stopped. So we had to stop. Yeah. My wife was like, shame, know your name.
Shame, my name. That's good stuff.
Well, I wasn't doing what I needed to do around the house.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about that, because that's where I feel like, again, when we think about this partnership and balance between husband and wife, and just the balance you guys have, even just with the energy you bring in, the grounding energy that she has for you, like, share a little bit about that dynamic and how that works for you too.
You know, it all goes back to the Galatians. It's a Bible verse. It says, you know, husbands, raise your wives up like Christ, love your wife like Christ loved the church, you know, make her blemished like Christ made the church. And, you know, and a lot of people get this scripture wrong. It's, you know, they say women respect and submit to your husbands. But understand this, when they say submit to your husband, it's like when you submit to Christ. So when he's talking about being a leader in your own house, I serve my wife. I don't walk in the house and I'm like, where's my dinner? Did you do the laundry? Did you do this and that?
Yeah.
I serve my wife. I know what her love language is. I make sure she is taken care of first and foremost. And because of that, she trusts my decision-making abilities.
Yes.
And then submits to me in a way that I need her to. And when I think what a lot of men especially get it wrong is, submission is different to every single man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The way my wife submits to me is completely different than how my neighbor, who might have a great marriage, his wife submits to him. You know what I mean? And we do have just the best partnership, because she lets me be me in the house, and I make sure she's taken care of with whatever else she needs. And you know, and I'll tell you what, I think one of the dumbest things I hear people say is, you know, when a woman needs you to do this and change and stuff, if this is you, that shut up. Just shut up. If you're okay, so here's the deal. If I'm in the gym and you're looking at me and you say, I'm not changing for this woman, no, I think you're dumb. Just know I think you're dumb.
Straight up.
I'm going to look at you and be like, yeah, sure, okay, because I just don't want to have any conflict in the gym, because I'm trying to work out and I want you to have a good morning. But in my mind, I'm like, this man is going to lose his woman because he's dumb. If you love your woman, and I'm not the same man I was 5 years from when I met her, 5 years from that point, 5 years from that point. If you don't think you're going to change and you don't want her to change, you are not in a relationship.
Yeah.
And that's where Molly has shown me that, is that, you know, like we're constantly growing. We're constantly changing. So if she asked me to do something, it might not feel right to me at the time. Give it a shot. It might wind up better than you thought it was going to do. And that's what happened, because a lot of times I didn't have the tools to make those changes. And she's like, honey, just try this with me. Just do this with me.
Yeah.
And it was like against my grain, like completely against my grain. And then I do it. And then our marriage like went skeet. And I was like, oh, look at this. Oh my God. I was telling her the other day, we are actually to a point in our marriage where I was like, we need to calm down a little bit, because I'm afraid of getting lost in you. Like, I love her so much. There's days I wake up and my chest is hot waking up, because I just want to tell her I love her. Yeah. And it's because we've molded each other into what we need. And I serve her as a leader in the house, and she knows she can walk in outside in public with confidence who her husband is.
Yeah.
And that's how we make our marriage work. And it's just, but I think what a lot of people don't know is too, romantic love in the movies, that's great. And it happens, but really it's hard. Yeah. It's every day it's hard, especially because this world just wants to traumatize you.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, I mean, people need to get off everything triggers you. Not everything triggers you. You just don't like it. But there are some things that trigger you.
Yeah.
You know, like hey, mine is abandonment issues. We just had our song leader leave the church. And he was like, you going to miss me? And I'm like, no. You decided to leave. That's not on me. That's on you. I'm not going to feel two ways about it. I love the guy. If he calls me tomorrow, I will drive to Iowa and help him do whatever he's got to do.
Yeah.
But like, as he was here, I was like, I disconnected immediately. And it was like, I didn't want to, but immediately my chest went, nope, he's done.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and that's protection, right? Like, I don't want to feel this. I don't want to have to care about this person. So I'm just going to cut it off. And that is all protection again. When really, like, knowing that you're someone who cares deeply, like, of course I care about this person, but
it's so messed up because him and I even talked after that. And he was like, yeah, but we're good, right, Santino? And I'm like, dude, I love you to death. I'll protect your family with my life, but I don't care if you're leaving. Like, so I have to preface it. I always preface with people, here's my emotional issues. But no, I know they're my emotional issues. I still love you. And they're just looking at me like, I'm confused. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's because you chose to be my friend. That's what's just going to happen.
You signed up for this.
You signed up for this roller coaster. So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. I definitely have like a fine print with friendships. Like, just so you know, there's always going to be like some inner child therapy, whether you wanted to realize it is happening. I'm like, oh, did you just give me therapy, Tammy? I'm like, yeah, sorry.
But yeah, it's really a struggle because there's just so many man things I just don't do, and because I wasn't raised with them. But like, I used to hunt, but I can't stand guns. I hate guns. It's your right to have one. I believe it's your right to have one. Just they're not for me.
Yeah.
Because I think if ever I really wanted to kill somebody, I want to look you in the eye. I want to stick a knife in you and make it hurt. I don't want to shoot you from 2 blocks away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't like cigars. I don't drink, period. Like, I can have a shot with somebody, but like, I don't like drinking. I don't like the way it makes me feel. So I don't have scotch with people. And sometimes when I'm hanging out with dudes, I feel bad because I'm sitting there with a Voss bottle full of Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? And everybody's hanging out and I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm a guy. You know what I mean?
I love that though, because like, who says, and like, why does that have to be the definition and the way that?
Right, but you know, but even as guys, you have it in your head, like this is what guys do, and
right, which I find interesting that like your ego still kind of gets insecure about that, because when I see you at the gym, like it's as if like men look up to you because of how open you are, how emotionally available you are, how vulnerable you are. Like, I see them looking up to you.
If that's true and you look up to me, you shouldn't.
That was your first mistake.
You shouldn't. No, I'm just, look, man, I barely got out of high school. I knew how to hustle and manipulate. If it was not for my wife first and then God, I'm not supposed to be where I am at. Yeah. So dead serious. I'm just a goon who figured out a couple things because he had a woman who was patient enough to go, no, I need to see the real you. Right. That was it. And from some divorces I know and some good marriages I know, that's all their woman asked for. Just show them the real you, put that ego bullshit aside.
Right.
And dude, they're going to love you like you've never been in your life and do all the things you need them to do. Because I'm telling you, that is all my wife asked me to do. And one of my biggest regrets is stuff I figured out in the last 10 years in our marriage. If I would have done that 10 years earlier, I don't know where we would be right now. And it bothers the shit out of me.
Sure.
Because man, we will just giggle. There is times we go into bed to do some things and we wind up just laughing.
Yeah.
And that's all we wind up doing because we're just having a good time. And then we're just like, oh, you just want to get something to eat instead. And it's like, because she's my best friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When something happens, she's the first person I want to tell to.
Right.
And it's because I get to be my authentic self with her.
Well, and what I love about that is you didn't present as, or maybe you did, but she saw right through it, is she realized that you were kind of damaged goods and didn't care.
Honey, did you think I was damaged goods and didn't care? No.
Well, she knew you had a story that you didn't have like the perfect childhood.
No, she did. I always tell her. There's actually one reason I say she's with me, but I won't say it on the podcast because I know she'll be like. But no, she always told me because she always said it was like a diamond in the rough. She was like, Santino, So when she met me, when we first met, she was pseudo dating a friend of mine that I knew, and he brought her to a party, and I was 21 at the time. They were all like 19, between the ages of 19 and 20. Well, by the time I was 21, God, I had already been in bar fights. I had been in bars. I had done a ton of drugs. I had ran with gangs. like, I didn't want to do that crap anymore. I had just gotten out of jail when I was like 20, you know what I mean? And I just got I was on probation and whatnot. So she met me. I was watching 1980 Flash Gordon, which is my favorite movie and a good movie that all of you should see. Drinking Mountain Dew while everybody else is drinking at this party. And I'm sitting on a couch. And I'm not kidding. Molly was a unicorn among hood rats. Because that's all we let in the house. You know, when you're in the inner city and you're like honestly, I was like, occasionally we'd have craps games, so I was bouncing for like a crap game in a back room, and here comes Molly walking in there, just looking just blonde and fine, and I was like, God, get her the hell out of here! Like I did, I told him to get her out of the house. Like that was even at the time I knew there was girls you did things with, and then there was girls you married, and I was like, get that girl out of here! Like that was not the girl you do that with.
Yeah,
and yeah, he made a mistake. He wound up going to jail for a little bit, and he called me up and he was like, hey, I want you to find my bail. That girl Molly said she'll give you a ride to go find it. I was like, do it. And I was like, dude, don't send her. Don't. I was like, don't do it. And he dared me to take her.
oh boy.
And I was like, I had hair down to here. And I asked around everybody. I said, hey, man, what is she like? And he was like, oh, dude, she doesn't like dude with long hair. I had a buddy take a scissors. I didn't even go to a barber. I didn't have time. He cut my hair at the table. I cut it all off for her. Went out and bought a brand new outfit. And then no matter what, I wouldn't let her alone that night. And one of the things she said that made her really like me so I'm really protective of my wife. And I have been since day one. So like if we went into a restaurant and she went to the bathroom and we were about to leave, I'd stand by the door to make sure and especially if it was someplace I didn't know.
Yeah.
And she was like, why are you standing by the door? I'm like, so no one goes in there while you're in there. And she didn't understand why guys would do that.
Yeah.
And also too, she did something that night. Like, I can't even describe it. She just was something else. What were we talking about? No, I'm dead serious. Like I lost my train of thought.
So good.
No, I did. I lost my whole train of thought.
We were just talking about your guys' dynamic, but
once I start talking about her, I get all off because I get all flustered and hot. It's terrible.
I love it.
This is my own fault.
You're sharing the story about, the whole your friend going to pick her up, you cut your hair.
Oh yeah. So and that's why Molly saw me as different because like most guys would just be like, accept me for who I am. I immediately was like, okay, if a unicorn is even gonna look at me, oh yeah. Even if it's just a horse cloth, I'm putting it on to get that unicorn in my stable. That's what's gonna happen.
Which is so fascinating because you felt like you changed who you were in that moment so she would like accept you when really she helped you find the real you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was like cutting my hair was the first like thing of like, and I'll tell you what, I wish I would have brought the picture so you could see it. Pencil thin mustache.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. Brother was living the life. And she met me with that, like the mustache and everything. And now she doesn't, I try to grow my mustache back. She's like, oh no.
He said, no. That does not do it for me.
So yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, I tried to, I changed everything, man. Yeah, I wanted her so bad. It was ridiculous. And you know what? She made a mistake because she said, this is so funny. We went to the sauerkraut fest because in Racine, that's where they make all the Frank's sauerkraut down there.
Okay. Yeah. Fun fact.
So I knew she liked me because, there's probing questions you can ask to get it right. And she ate a full bowl of sauerkraut thinking I didn't want to kiss her. Ladies, let me tell you something about men.
That's the true test.
You could eat a turd and we're still going to kiss you if we really like you. Okay? Doesn't matter. So it's just how it is. So anywho, we're in her car and I remember we were on our way to Pick and Save because we were driving and stuff. And she was like, look, I'm kind of seeing your friend and I don't date friends and stuff like that. And I said, but you find me attractive, right? And she was like, oh yeah, I do. I said, oh. Then you'll be dating.
That's all I needed to know.
And I was as arrogant as dart. Then by the end of the night, you'll be my girl. I told her. Like I told her. Yeah, I told her. I knew it. I knew I was gonna have her. I knew it. Yeah. Wow. I wasn't letting that go. No way. My God, look at her now. Jesus.
She is pretty beautiful.
She is amazing.
I could actually see the unicorn.
Right, like
aura.
you guys look up a picture of me and her. My Facebook is public. You'll be like, "Why is she with this donkey?" No, I'm not even kidding. Not even as built as I've ever been. You're gonna look at that picture and be like, "What is she thinking?" Yeah.
Well, what I love about this so much is because no one's going to come into a marriage perfectly healed without any childhood wounds. You're going to trigger each other. But when you have created this foundation of safety, of like unconditional love, like you're going to mess up and I'm going to get mad at you, but I love you unconditionally.
Right.
And we're always going to come back to that. And when you know that, it allows you to try new things without feeling like, I'm going to fail at this or this is going to ruin things. It allows you to start to feel like I can bring this wall down. I can like remove some of this armor because this person loves me regardless that I'm not perfect.
Yeah, that is one thing. If Molly did anything for me, she has seen me at my absolute dumbass worst in our life. I mean, the absolute worst. And the only time I felt like she was going somewhere was I was just getting off the Vicodin and emotions shut down for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And she was like, Santino, I will take the kids and have to go somewhere else until you figure this out because you got to get this straight. I can't, you just got another couple months or I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And that's when it was like, we had to get that straight. And you know what, but again though, that was showing me love by instead of letting me have excuses for how I was being this and that and all this other crap, she was like, I'm putting my kids first. I love you. I'm giving you every chance in the world. I know you're going through some stuff, but I need to protect my kids and me because I love you that much. You know what I mean? And I tell you what, it was hard, but you figure that shit out fast when you think you're going to lose your woman. Oh my goodness. Yes, we figured that out.
Wow.
That was a lot.
Well, and I think about too, for her to set that boundary and the strength that takes because, you know, some women, some men, whatever, in that situation, and they can't find their voice. They can't set that boundary, even though they know this is not a great situation for me and my kids. I'm too scared to say anything to remove myself from it, even though I know it's not the best situation. Like that happens all the time to people where they can't find their voice. They can't set that boundary. And so it gets suppressed and
Quick story.
other things.
Another quick story about Molly. We're talking about boundaries. So one day, I take off work when I shouldn't. It's a Monday. My boys come over,
Oh boy.
smoking a bowl, drinking some 40s, and playing Tecmo Bowl all day from like 9 o'clock in the morning. I think she got home at like 5 o'clock. Molly walks in the house. I'm semi-stoned, semi-buzzing because we've been drinking all day. But I'm in the playoffs for Tecmo Bowl.
Come on,
Dave
man.
Maggot, that guy could just run the ball in that game. Molly walks through the door. She's like, hey, baby. And I'm like, hey. She's like, get a little small talk with everybody. And then she's like, hey, let's go in the bedroom. My thought, oh my God, I've been getting high and drunk all day playing Tecmo Bowl. Now my woman wants to take me in the bedroom. Best day ever. We go in the bedroom. She grabs my hand. My man does not get drunk and high and goes to work. And I'm like, what? And then I had to stay in the room with her the rest of the night. And I got none. But she was like, nothing. She was like, I was like, what just happened? But she was like, if you want to be in a real relationship, right? Yeah. She was like, if you want to be in a real relationship with me, I'm not going to be with somebody who gets drunk, who gets high. And the getting high part wasn't that big a deal. Because marijuana, I hung around with everybody who got high, but, you had to have a dealer and things like that. And I didn't want to around stuff like that. Drunk, though, it was like, with my family and everything, I was raised on the weekends. That's what you do. You drink. So we struggled with that for a couple of years. And then it got to the point. I'm such a horrible drunk. I'm one of two people. I'm one of two people when I'm drunk. And it's every time I love you. I love you. And I love you. And even if you're a stranger, I love you. Or the guy who said, what did you say? And it doesn't matter what you said. It was too loud and it was too disrespectful. And then as I get louder, your voice got louder, even though it didn't get louder in my head. And so it's not worth it for me to drink. So my wife knew it. And every time I drank, something bad happens.
Yeah.
I just don't do it.
But again, to come in and set that kind of boundary, because some people could look at that in different ways, but if she doesn't say something and just gets mad and upset about it and then, goes in another room and lets it fester and then never actually says anything, that's not good or healthy either.
What's going to go wrong with that is the way she presented it was, even though I was still kind of stoned, she didn't say, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
She said, this is how I'm going to be loved.
Ooh.
So there's a difference. Molly's never given me ultimatums. She always says, this is how I need this to be loved.
Can you write a manual?
And so I knew I loved her. And one of the things I taught my son this, and he took it to heart, is I heard him in an argument one time, and this is not my quote. I forget where I got it from. I don't know if it was a movie or whatever. And a guy was looking and he goes, hey man, you said you'd die for your woman, right? You'd do anything for her. And he was like, yeah, I would die for my girl. And he goes, then why won't you suffer for her? And I was like, oh. And that's what I look at with my wife. Molly knows I'll lay my life down for her a minute, but will I suffer in that moment through that argument to hear what she needs to be loved, and then put my ego aside, which doesn't always happen, but most of the time it does, to love her.
Right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of these guys were like, you know what, though, I'm down for my girl. I'll die for it. No, you're not, because you know what? You won't suffer for her. You'll walk out of the house. You won't come back. You'll make her say, you'll make her apologize, and Molly's always been good at, think of it, I always think of it like that. Men are, we're chasing the car. We're chasing the fire hydrant. We're chasing the cat. We're meeting as many female dogs as we can. And Molly said, here, I'm going to give you a home, and here's the electric fence in the yard. Yeah. This is what I need for you to be in my home. And I kid you not, man, every time I see her, that's my home. Like, we could be out on vacation and something happens, I'm looking for Molly immediately, because I know that's my safe spot. That's my, like, I can tell her how ridiculous the situation is, and she's still going to love me, even though I was probably the jackass in that situation. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, she's something else.
Well, you guys have become each other's anchor, so that way you can,
Well, it's funny you say anchor, because especially with that opium thing, the opiates, I've never bought them illegal. They were always, I got caught up in where the doctor would they would give me 90-day supplies every 30 days. It was crazy. But we've had a couple friends. One of our friends, his brother died because he got addicted, because he had back surgery and then got all that stuff. Yeah. And he never could wind up getting off it. And a lot of people would ask me, why I think I could do it. And I did it where I didn't have to go into a hospital. Like, I just detoxed at home and everything else. And it was because I tell people I had God as my faith, but I had my wife as Molly's always my center. Like, I know I can always come back to that and go to her and be like, babe, I messed up. What do I do? And it was weird. I don't remember how many years ago she was. One day she just asked this, and she asked it flippantly, which pissed me off. And she was like, do you trust me 100%? And I was like, nope.
Wow.
And then, but it was weird, because she was like, oh, that's weird. And then walked out. Like, it wasn't even a conversation. And I sat on the bed and I'm like,
the hell?
I was like, why don't I trust her 100%? Yeah. Because, okay, we've been married. So at this point, we're at least married 20 years or 15 years. And I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. My success and my happiness directly affects her life. So to not trust her 100% is my dumbassery and my problem. And you know what? No joke. And a lot of people, there's one guy at the gym, you know who you are, because I still hang out with you, looked at me and he was like, you don't trust your wife 100%. And I'm like, yes, I do. And he goes, no, you can't just make that decision. I'm like, bullshit. Yes, you can. And it was that day I said, yes, I do trust you 100%. And that's it.
Yeah.
And I made that decision. And I'm telling you, it went here. Like, it went to a whole other spot. I felt like such an asshole.
No, but that's, again, you can see where the reason that you didn't, again, because ego's like, I'm not giving 100% of trust to anyone going through what you went through as a kid. But here's this person who absolutely has earned that. But it was your ego. Right. Like, you 100%. Truly knew. And once you could drop that, 100%, you can.
It was just
like
weird,
that.
Because I thought, no, you don't. I never trust anybody but myself 100%. But then I thought, wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. This woman's bared my kids. We share everything. We share our most intimate details. Not to trust her is the dumbest thing I've ever. heard, you know what I mean?
Well, you can see how your own stuff could block
Yeah, 100%.
your marriage. It could block the success of your marriage. It could block the growth of your marriage. And it did. And once you release that, like you said, pew.
And I tell you, gentlemen, when you release crap in your marriage, wow. Like the next level you go to is like, you think you love your woman, no, you don't. There's a whole, I fall in love with her every day in a new and different way, even when I'm angry with her. It's crazy. It is. It's just crazy. So.
Well, and it sounds like you have such a respect for her. Like she can get mad at you, and it's like you would respect her for the fact that she actually had the balls to call you out. Like,
Molly, Molly's something else. Yeah, I respect. So this will get me canceled. I don't respect weak women. Yeah. I just don't. We all have our own strengths. So when I see women kowtowing to the men just doing shit, I'm just like, God, stop it. Just stop it. You know what I mean? She's like, you know, she's intelligent and she's beautiful and she knows what she wants. And, you know, she gives me respect as a man, like for being a man. And dude, she's a unicorn. She's just a unicorn. She is. But yeah, I think all women should just, show your strength. It doesn't mean you're a feminist and you could do everything on your own. No, it just means you're out there doing your thing. And, and then when you can let somebody in your life, and when they're in there, you just say, hey, this is how I need to be loved. And, and you don't compromise on that. Cause that was one thing she didn't do with me is like, she didn't. And then the things she did compromise turned out later she shouldn't have. And then we had to deal with them later when they were even worse.
Right.
And that made it harder. And, but she never got off that point. Like she was like, no, I shouldn't have done this. Yeah. And you know how I know she didn't? Cause I'd be like, you've been letting me do this for years. And she's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah. And here we are.
But now I have to do this cause I can't do this anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, and I love the way that you kind of set boundaries is you do your thing, but this is what I'm going to do. Like she's taking full ownership of if this is the way it's going to be, like, I'm out or I'm doing this, like do what you want there. And that really puts you in the driver's seat to empower you to where you're not feeling maybe necessarily threatened. Like, this is up to me to make this change.
Right.
And this is what's going to happen if I don't.
Right. Exactly. Like she never gives me an ultimatum, but I know and I know even if I don't make that change, she's not going anywhere, but I know then the relationship stays here.
Right.
I don't want this relationship to stay here. I want her to feel like she's loved like God loves her. Like, like the Bible says, I love her like Christ loves the church. Like, that's why, and think about it. He was beaten for 3 days and put on a cross. How much did he love the church? It's like, so I got to do that for her.
Well, and going back to when you talked about, like, would you suffer for them and whether that's like giving up a bad habit or something. But I look at that as like, are you willing to look at your stuff? Are you willing to look and see where are my childhood wounds blocking my ability to connect, to communicate, to be emotionally available? Are you willing to look at that stuff and do that work? Because it's one thing to quit a habit or start a new healthy habit, but it's a whole nother level to dig deep into your stuff and see.
Yeah, and that's tough. It's, like I said, I see this lady, Sue Gruden, and I do a thing called brain spotting, and what it does is it brings you to this place where it actually brings you back to that situation and the emotion that you feel, which, don't let them lie to you, it doesn't disappear at the end of the therapy meeting. I almost got fired from a job because I started doing it. We started dealing with stuff from my dad, and I got into such a rage I almost killed a plumber. It was terrible. It was not a good situation. But the nice thing is when you deal with it, it takes the emotion out of it. So then you can think of that situation, but you don't associate any emotion with it. And that is what helped out the most. But one of those things was, as Molly said, if you love me, I need you just continue into therapy. So this lady I've only been seeing for like the last, since 2020, but I've been in therapy for like 12 years and just seen a plethora of different ones that didn't work out because she was like, no, as long as you're working on it, that's all I need you to do,
Wow.
So.
That's amazing. And you're right. That's such a great, powerful point too, is sometimes you have to find what works for you and find the right person who you feel safe with, because you can try therapy once, but it didn't work for me. Like, no, you have to stick with it. And like you said, as long as you're working on your stuff.
That's the thing. You got to stick with it. And you gotta understand it is your fault because you're hanging on to it. It's not the situation's not your fault, But you hanging on to it,
Yeah.
totally your fault. Because there are things out there that can help you get through it.
Yes.
And you really got to go through there. And I tell you what, when you have buddies out there that are telling you, man, that's bullshit. Don't be doing that. Don't, you know what? See, she shouldn't tell you this and that. And those aren't therapists. Okay. Friends give you the worst advice. They give you, because they just, because everybody's trying to be tough. Everybody's trying to mask their egos together. You know what I mean?
100%.
It's like when we go to the gym, I don't know. I don't know how many guys like it. Like I know some pretty big lifters that actually compete nationally.
Yeah.
I never talk to them about lifting. I talk to them about their women or how's their life's going or how things are going at work. That's what I care about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could give a shit about your weights because I know you're strong.
Right.
And dude, they're impressed.
I don't need to feed your masculinity.
Not even that. It's just, dude, you know you're strong. I mean,
Right.
there's a point in the gym where when somebody asks me like if I'm strong, I'm like, well, what do you consider strong? Because just my size alone should tell you that I can lift a lot. You know what I mean? So it's like, why would I talk to them about that? They know they're stronger than me. They know they're absurdly strong. So I want to talk to them about their life. If I only get a couple minutes with them every day,
I love that.
and I get to see them. So I want to hear about you. I don't want to hear about your weight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I love that so much. And I think that's, again, why I think when I see you in the gym, men that feel comfortable talking to you, because you're not doing the surface level stuff with people. And that's, I think, what more men need.
Because I only get like 10 minutes with you.
Right.
So,
But how often do they do that? Like, let's talk about sports. Let's talk about this. And like men maybe don't have that same community.
There's another thing where I'm stuck on. Oh my God, just pull my man card now. Everybody's going to pull my man card. So I used to be in like 3 fantasy leagues, and I could tell you who was on the practice squad of the Green Bay Packers, who, if the third quarterback went down, who was the wide receiver who would be put in a quarter. It was crazy. Then I started lifting.
Yeah.
And Sunday was the best day to go in the gym. I'm in 2 fantasy leagues, and I pick up players by statistics. I think I've watched 1 football game this year. Yeah. So when guys talk about sports,
Yeah.
I have to fake it through the whole conversation. So I don't like talking about it because I don't know anything about it anymore. I think football is trash nowadays with all these new rule changes, and it's just a score-driven league. So, all right, well, you take out sports. What do I got left? How's your family?
Yeah.
How you doing at work? How you feeling?
But those are probably questions that they never get asked.
Right.
And so for someone to actually ask and then stick around and long enough to hear the answer and care, like a lot of men probably don't get that.
I had somebody tell me the other day, and I never thought about it because of how open I am. So my people are really open with me. And he goes, dude, you know what I love about you? It's so much you tell me you love me. And it's just a buddy of mine. But I tell him I love him all the time.
Yes.
I have another buddy that lives down near Janesville, and I'll just, because he's divorced, and it was like a surprise, but he still doesn't know why he divorced him. And it's 2 years in, and I'll text him at random. Hey man, I'm thinking about you. Love you. And he was like, dude, no joke. And now this is not me saying it. He'll text me like, why are you being a fag?
Oh.
And you know why? And I'm like, because I want to do you. Like that's how that's right. I just play right into it. And he's like, dude, just stop. And I'm like, well, do you love me back? And he's like, of course.
But isn't that fascinating though? Like, why does it make him so uncomfortable for another person?
But I do that to every guy,
keep doing
guy
that.
that's in my life. I love telling him I love him because that's what I want to be told.
Yes.
So I always figure if that's what I want, that's what they want. And if you're uncomfortable with it, then just don't be my friend. I'm good with that.
Well,
I'm perfectly fine with that.
You're right. You have 2 choices: is not be your friend or sit in the discomfort. Like, why does that bother me so much?
Right,
Like,
because
what?
really the only person I'm going to change is for her.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only person I'm changing for.
But if they could look at that, like, again, why does that make me feel so uncomfortable when another person expresses their emotion to me? Because again, it's likely their ego has blocked them so much from maybe not hearing that as a kid. Like, that feels weird. I don't want to hear that. What do I do with that? Like, what do I do when someone says that? So you are kind of like breaking people open, and then they're like, shh.
What's crazy is the fact is you don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Just hear I love it. You don't even have to say it back.
Right. Can you just receive that?
Just receive it.
Just sit with it?
You know what? I was thinking about you today, and I love you, and I love seeing you. When I see you, my day's better. That's it. I see nothing wrong with that.
I don't either, because I'm very much that way. Like, if I see a sign or I think about someone, like, I know, like, I want to send them something. I'm thinking of them. I just want to wish them well or send them good energy.
Oh my God, you should see Molly's Instagram. Her messages are all of these sappy, stupid. Hey, honey, did you see that? No.
what day did you send it on? That the 30 that came through. Because I'll be doing something at work and I'll do something really great at work. And I'm like, babe, love you so much.
Well, let's talk about that, because you've talked about like some of the bigger things that you guys have done together to keep your marriage growing. But talk about like some stuff on the daily.
So, one of the things that Molly really loved about me is I would call her during the day at work when we first got together. I remember the first time I did it, she was like, why are you calling? And I'm like, well, because I was thinking about you and I wanted to see how your day was. She was like, no, it's going great, but do you need anything? And I was like,
I love this.
So that's how I was raised though. My mom was a very loving person. And, so I treat Molly, in the beginning, I treated Molly the way I thought my mom wanted to be treated. Because, my mom was a very loving person. Unfortunately, she just got with some crappy people. But
yeah.
It is what it is. So, with her, and then when texting came out, it was, so we always talk 2 or 3 times a day just on the phone. So I don't understand. I always hear comedians' jokes, and why do you want to call me on the phone? Because then when we get home, we got nothing to talk about. Oh my God, I talk to her 2 to 3 times a day. And then we talk for another hour when we get home. It's like, she's my best friend. So there's just more to talk about. And then we'll text throughout the day. I'll get a random text, think it, I'll send you back, love you back. Or she'll send live you back. And then, meant love you back. And, or I'll send her weird pictures. And, when I'm feeling frisky, I send inappropriate pictures over the phone. Let her know this is what daddy's looking for when he gets home.
Oh yeah, there she is. There she is. No, I think that's so good though, because how you have that honeymoon phase or whatever, but you're
I'm still in
years in.
I'm still in the honeymoon phase.
Well, that's what they say is to stay in that and for you to both.
Did you ever think about this? And I tell her this all the time because she's always like, "Why you're always touching me?" And I'm like, "Dude, because you're a girl." And you're letting me touch your girl parts. How cool is that? Think about that, guys. A girl is letting you touch her. You big gorilla getting to touch a woman. That's a fascinating thing that you convince some girl that you're worthy enough to do that. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm going to do that as often as I can. That's amazing. That's awesome.
What I love about this is how she has helped kind of crack you open and bring down your ego and things like that by you kind of coming in as this really emotionally and sensitive and just loving her so much. Why are you doing that? It's kind of cracked you open in a sense too, being able to receive that kind of love.
Yeah.
And I think I know I've had a hard time with that ability to receive even just compliments. I'm like, so I've had to work on that. Why I can give all day long, but when it comes to being able to receive that. And so I can resonate with that.
See,
why are you doing that?
I relate to you on that.
Yeah.
I have a hard time taking Molly will come at me as hard as I come at her with compliments. And I'm just like,
So you're the giver, but it's hard for you to receive that same.
It's hard for me to receive because worthiness is still my issue. Am I worthy of being with her in any aspect? You know what I mean? And I am. Somewhere inside me, I know I am. But it's when when you're with someone's energy is so great. You know what I mean? And I can get real dark and real shitty with people. And she just. You get around her and you're like, yeah, it's
right.
Molly. It's my Molly.
Yeah. Well, and when you just exude that light, even when it gets dark, it's you can still see her. Like you said, I can find her anywhere because she is this light.
Absolutely. And it's so some guys are like, well, my job demands this and this like that. I mean, understand your job is just your job. My home is Molly. So when I'm having a bad day, the beer is not going to help you. Nothing's going to help you. When you have that kind of relationship with your woman, I know no matter how bad the world makes it for me or how I've made it in the world, because I occasionally make things harder than they need to do. I don't know. This happens. The world needs to see things more my way.
Yeah, right?
I know at the end of the day, I can go home to Molly and she might not agree with me on what happened, but she's still with me.
Right.
She's still, the Bible says you leave your father and your mother so you become one. Molly treats me like that.
Yeah.
She treats me no, when you hurt, I hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
right.
I wish men would understand the more emotionally giving you are to your woman and vulnerable you are with them. And it sucks. Not saying it doesn't. Because you feel just this. You do. I'm not even kidding. Your ego, your ego just fights you on all of it. On absolutely all of it.
But the hardest thing I tell her is I'm hurt.
Ooh.
Oh my God, it is the worst. I'll go to tell her I'm hurt. I'll walk in there. I got to tell you this, honey. Right now, I'm angry, and I'll walk away. I'm like, I didn't like that shit, and I'll walk away. And then I'll come back and go, I'm not angry. You really hurt me when you said that.
Ooh.
And I hate it. But you know what? When I tell her
It's more
I'm
vulnerable
hurt by
emotion.
it, she's like, oh, I didn't mean to hurt you. And the whole conversation changes.
Right?
She doesn't know how to deal with me when I'm angry. She doesn't want to deal with me when I'm angry. But when
That
she
I can
knows
work
it
with.
hurt me,
Yeah.
so there might be sometimes she does say something that was meant to hurt, because we all do that.
Yeah.
But 99% of the time, she said it, I just took it that way, and it hurt.
Right.
And then when I hear her go, oh, I didn't mean to say it that way, I apologize, I'm instantly, oh.
Yep.
And then we talk. But not saying you're angry and actually saying you're hurt, which is what makes you angry, that sucks. Oh my God, that's hard to do. But yeah, I've been getting better at it.
But the reason that is because that is when you look at the scale of emotions,
Yeah.
anger's easy for people. It's feeling the more vulnerable ones to say that I'm hurt, that I'm sad.
Yeah.
That's like, ooh, all of a sudden that feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you can feel safe in that because she allows you to feel that, and she can work with that. Like you said, like she doesn't want to
Yeah,
work with
she
me when
can-
I'm
yeah.
angry because you're coming in all defensive and I got your ego. But when you come in and say you're hurt, like that's, again, like a little kid coming in, that little boy coming in and saying like, that hurt my feelings.
See what you just said there, right there? The little boy coming in. That's what immediately comes to my mind when I say I'm hurt. I'm not having her look at me as anything but a man. And it's bullshit.
Right.
It's all your ego.
It is.
It's all your ego.
It
You're not
really
a little
is.
boy. She doesn't look at you that way. But she wants you vulnerable because then she can talk to you, because then she feels safe, because she understands.
Yes.
Men are dominant by nature. And when you're not showing dominance in an argument, you're actually showing vulnerability. Now she feels safe and you can get through it faster,
Yep.
which makes your life better, which leads to the bedroom. So go do it. My God. Don't.
Simple equation here, folks.
Simple equation. You get it worked out, you get booty. What? It's good stuff.
You both
Which
really
is
do
the
need to write me
goal,
down.
right? Right, gentlemen? It's the goal. Naked.
But if she doesn't feel emotionally safe with you,
No, right.
that ain't happening.
Exactly. And and it's so funny because, and we did this when we were younger too. They always say the best sex is like makeup sex. No, it's not. It's not. It is just not. When you are truly together after an argument and you are like, you've been vulnerable with each other,
Yeah.
and you've hugged it out and you let her cry over it and everything. And yes, when you cry over it
Yes.
too, because I will, Sue Gruden took my ability not to cry.
I love you, Sue.
And I have cried with her in an argument, and no joke, man, there's nothing in the world like when you are hurt by something and your woman just holds you and tells you she loves you and she's got your back through this situation. You stand up from that couch like you got 1,000-pound deadlift and you can take on the planet. That's the best sex you're ever gonna have, right there.
Well, and you're both allowing each other to operate in
Yep.
like that feminine energy. Like
100%.
let her nurture you.
Yep.
But if you come in and
100%.
you're a man and you never let her step into her role to be the nurturer,
Right.
you're
And that's
cutting-
what we keep asking women to do: be the nurturer, be the emotional one, and then we just bang on them for right. I get it. Yeah, I don't understand it. Well, I didn't understand it before, but like Molly's, like I
Yeah.
said, with her boundaries,
Yeah.
I had no choice but to, adjust myself to that. And it wasn't even that I changed myself. I just make small adjustments. And this is 30 years of making adjustments. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just good. And so we do little texts and we do phone calls throughout the day. On my desk, you should see it. So my office, it's hilarious because I do loans for people and it's all Incredible Hulk. It is. The whole wall is Incredible Hulk. And unless you look at my desk, and there's like 9 pictures of Molly. There's pictures of my kids too, but there's like 9 pictures that are professional pictures, and then ones of me and her and things like that. I surround myself with my wife all day. I don't allow women's numbers in my phone that she doesn't know about. You know what I mean? The female friends that I have are her friends. Like I don't, I keep my relationship. I protect my relationship more than I do my own life. I'll put myself in a shitty situation where something might happen more than I put this marriage in danger. I will never do that because she is just, if to lose her because I did something stupid, no. And I have a firm belief when a girl's pants come off, you're not going to say no. So I never put mine in a situation where you're never, no. Nope.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
Nope.
Well, and it's interesting when you made the comment about weak women, turning the tables and thinking about weak men, which, again, I would never think of it in that terms. I mean, we do, but I see it as, again, like a whole childhood wound thing. But what that does when men aren't in their masculine, it forces women to be.
Right.
And so then they lose their like feminine strength and power, and they're the ones having to make all the decisions and having to take charge and doing all that.
Right.
And it totally shifts the dynamic. And then, eventually I feel like the woman kind of gets angry and resentful. Like, why don't I have to do everything? And
that's exactly it. And I've known those guys too. And it drives me up a wall. And unfortunately, and what I really like is going to Doxa. I don't know any men there that are like this, but at the old church I went to, there's these guys who just capitulate everything to their wives. And they're what I call little paper people. Like you could just crunkle them up and throw them away. And like their wives ran the relationship. And no joke, a lot of them left the church and are now divorced. That's why women want you to be masculine, but they want you to be vulnerable. And vulnerable is not weakness. They don't want you to just do what they want you to do, and then you do everything they tell you, because then they feel like they got to take charge. And then when they take in charge, they're like, well, what did I get married for? I got to, whatever. You can be masculine. It's just the vulnerability. That's all they're asking for.
yeah.
So yeah, weak men drive me nuts too. Oh my God, just stop, dude.
Yeah, there's a lot of that dynamic that is out of whack. And that was, again, why I wanted you to come on, because the little bit that I've heard, I'm like, wow, they have, and you don't see it that often. So it's like you guys are a unicorn couple because you don't see this dynamic functioning this well. And what I love about it is you have said many times, like, it's not that it's all rainbows and roses. Like, we have our stuff, but it's how you work through it. And that is the important thing here, is it's not all going to be perfect. You're going to still trigger each other, but the way that you have that foundation of unconditional love, I got you, you got me. And just to know that, it allows you to then have those tough conversations or to call each other out. Right. Because you're not.
And again, I always say, I did the work. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's Molly, as much as she's a light, like if I wouldn't have done it, we wouldn't be together. Like all the choices are mine. So it's like, the marriage is working because I'm half of this marriage. But anybody who doesn't think boundaries are so important, not ultimatums. Don't ever look at somebody and say, if you don't do this, this is the consequence of doing this. That's garbage. But if you need something to be loved in a certain way, and that's what my wife has taught me most. If anything is taken from this, well, first off, find the love of Christ. If you're not, I truly believe that. You got to find Christ in your life to get this to work. Because without Christ, I would never have had my wife. I wouldn't know what real love is or saving or anything. But my wife showing me, because I didn't have boundaries when she met me. Like, I don't believe in personal space. I'll get right in you. I don't care. But she showed me what boundaries were. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's what made it work. Because she had the courage to say, this is how you need to love me. And loving me was easy because it was like sex. At the beginning, it was like sex was my love language. Right. You know what I mean? So she knew if she kept that up, that was good. Yeah. But then as the marriage went on, it was like, okay, well, marriage is more than that. Right. So I need this, and that's, and as a guy, you don't want to tell her, well, you need this. She should just figure it out. No, guys, they should just figure it out. You should tell them. They're not mind. We always say women aren't, we're not mind readers. Women aren't mind readers neither. So. Right. That's where, again, being emotionally available to be able to say those things is like, don't make us, because we're already in our heads. We're already going to create massive stories about this. And like, so if you can just be clear and direct about 100%. How you're feeling, what you need. Boom. I'm glad you said story. Do you know how many times I put a story in my head that is absolutely 100% not true? And I swear to God, she said it. I swear to God, this is what happened in this situation. My wife looks at me and goes, what are you talking about? Guys, talk to your women if you are unclear, because by the time you sit in your room and you watch that TV and you think you're going to calm down, you have told yourself a story that is not true, and you're just going to get more mad. Yeah. Just say, what did you say? Because this is what I heard. And usually when you tell them what you hear, they'll look at you like you're the dumbest man on the planet and go, that is not what I said at all.
and you'll work it out.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I interpreted that differently. Because again, we filter things through.
We hear things through our trauma.
Yep.
We hear things through our day. We
Yep.
hear you might have got yelled at by your boss. Now she said something that was a little too rough. Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dudes, don't tell a story in your head. It just makes it worse.
Well, and
just
for
ask.
women too, to like, no, just, and I have had this issue being a people pleaser. Like, again, I don't want to ruffle the feathers. I don't want to say things. So I would like tiptoe around stuff. And that was not a great approach.
Yeah.
Because you swept a lot of things under the rug, and pretty soon, I figured out like, oh my gosh, like I'm abandoning myself by not setting boundaries. I didn't have those boundaries. Like, this is how I want to be treated. And that was kind of last week's episode, which was all about superheroes. I went two costume changes.
Oh, nice. And I'm going to have to watch that one.
Yeah. But I was talking about how at some point you maybe need to be the villain in someone's story, and that made me look like setting boundaries.
Yeah.
And people are going to see that, like, why aren't you doing this for me anymore? Why aren't you, like, because I need to set these boundaries. Like, I want to keep you in my life, but if I don't set these boundaries, this ain't going to end well, because I'm starting to build anger and resentment because I'm not communicating what my needs are and how I want to be treated.
Yeah. We've actually had situations in the house that it's gotten to a point in our relationship where there's sometimes we'll have an argument and she just doesn't want to deal with it. And she'll back down, and I know she's backing down because I'm just being an ass.
Yeah.
And I look at her, I'm like, stop it. Stop. This is not you. Just stop being weak. That is so unattractive to me when she just gives in.
Yeah.
And it's not because she gives in because she was wrong. She just doesn't want to deal with my shit.
Right.
And I'm just like, don't do that. Don't. And it just, because she exudes so much strength and power and beauty in our relationship. Be you.
Yeah.
No matter how mad I am, you be you, because I need you to be you to be me. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So yeah, that's like the little things we do. And and I know the chin thing's coming. Sex is super important in my house.
Yeah.
Super important.
Well, and if that's a way that you connect, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, all of those things, like,
Well, because it's in our relationship, it connects. Like I said, there's times we go in there and we might not even have sex. We just laughed.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Or, there are times it's just because, we're just so in love, or now my granddaughter lives at the house, which, oh my God. And Mom, you should see my granddaughter. She's amazing. My little Willow Bean, my little 1K. She's called 1K because when I put her on my chest, it's like 1,000 birthdays.
Oh,
oh my
I
God,
love
she's amazing. But sometimes because we got people in the house, it's just that, hey, real quick, let's sneak in on the da. But no, we have weekends. We go out like once a month or once every couple of months, and it's just that we have the best vacation rule. Best vacation rule ever, guys. If you can work this out, your vacations will be greatest from now on. So it was so Logan was a junior, right? So this had to be 8 years ago. Okay. 8 years ago, I was working with a guy and his name was Tony, and I'd never heard of this. He got divorced, and I was his assistant manager when we were talking. And I said, oh, how long were you married? And I was expecting like 10 years because he was a little bit older. He was like, oh, we were married for 23 years. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I was thinking sweat equity. How would you divorce somebody after like 23 years? You got 23 years with this person. And then there's the dating beforehand. They were like dating for 5 years beforehand. What it was, they raised their kids and were so into being parents, they forgot to be in love with each other. Mm-hmm. And then when they got done, they got divorced. And it was totally amicable, but they were still best friends. They just had no joy with each other. So I was like, oh, okay. So we went out to college. So I said, Molly, book a trip for us just for like 4 days. And she's got a ton of family in Colorado. So she was like, oh, for the kid. I said, no, just you and I, we need to start doing this to reconnect with us. And I told her the story and she was good with it. So we get to Colorado and we're leaving the airport and we rent the car. And she goes, so what do you want to do? If you want to go to the mountains, we'll go here, I'll go here, da, 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 da. And understand this. I'm super simple. I could stay in Wisconsin my entire life. I could care less. I said, I'll tell you what, you do me whenever and however I want you to do it at anything, and we'll do whatever you want on this vacation. I don't care. And she was like, done. So now when we go on vacation, you pick the spot, I'll go. I don't care if she wants to go craft fairing all day. Because I know whenever, however, as many times as I want during the day. Done.
Greatest vacations ever, going on 8 years. I was so look forward to our vacations. You have no idea. She says, "Hey, honey, do we have?" And by the way, started up a vacation account. We put $50 in a week out of our checks. So then every couple of months we go in there. It's like 600. Oh my God, fellas, let me tell you, there will never be arguments on vacations, ever. It is the greatest thing ever. Love it.
Wow, you heard it here, folks.
Yep. That's the deal, gentlemen.
That's the deal.
And then they get to do whatever they want. And you know what? When I go with her, it's with a smile.
Yeah.
It's with a great smile. That's the deal.
That's
and I don't
equal
care
give and take
what
there.
it is. She could go figurine shopping. I do not care. I love it.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Well, on that note, I wish I would have brought these out sooner because
sure.
I was getting ready for the episode and I saw them around the couch. And I was like, oh, I should have. You'll see.
What do we got? What do we got? No! Oh, those are so cool!
I was like, oh my God, I gotta give these to you.
Oh,
but yeah. I was gonna say like, oh, we could have totally done the episode with these. I'm like, how perfect. But yeah, they were around the.
Oh, I totally love these.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was fully prepared. I dressed in my green for you. Got my hot gloves for you.
Oh, these are neat because, according to that, with Deadpool, when you get Hulk hands, you can masturbate. What? Everybody saw Deadpool Wolverine masturbate. It's kind of funny.
Wow.
Anyways.
We told you this episode was going to be entertaining.
This is awesome. Look at these things.
You did not disappoint.
Believe it or not, and I have like 4 pair of Hulk hands.
Yeah.
I don't have these. Yeah, so these are great. These are awesome.
Oh my goodness.
I love that.
On that note, thank you, and thank you, Molly, for not just being a guest, but for sharing so many good nuggets and just being an example of what a healthy marriage and being in that dynamic and setting boundaries and being vulnerable, like all of those things. Like this is such great information for people because a lot of couples are missing this, and so it's amazing to know that you're out
I
there.
see online. I feel bad for people. I do. When I see things online, I'm like, God, why are you being like that? Just love your woman, Hey, and by the way, if you see me in public and you've seen this podcast and you have a question, oh, dude, totally ask me. I don't care. I don't care if you're a total stranger and I've never met you before in my life. That's how I make friends. I talk to everybody. So if you see something and you're like, dude, you were an ass on that, go ahead and tell me. I don't care. It is what it is.
I love that you were just fully you and owning every aspect of that.
And why is that? Because my wife asked me to be fully me, and she's the only person that matters to me when it comes down to that.
Done.
So I don't care.
Right. Oh, and that's how you lose, like worrying about what other people think of you.
100%.
It doesn't matter. You got her.
Yeah, I got her.
Oh, I love that. Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun. I cannot wait for people to see this episode.
And I didn't even use my Big Daddy Santino voice.
There you go. You heard it here. We'll have to have you back.
All right.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week.